And if anyone has any issues with the recording, please let me know. Yeah, just keep yourselves muted and video camera off for this time while we're presenting. So going in next, so in doing the territorial acknowledgement, so KPU takes its name from the Kwantlen First Nations, and we're working on studying and living here on the region south of the Fraser River, which overlaps with the unceded traditional and ancestral lands of the Kwantlen, Musqueam, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Tsawwassen, Khoikhot, and Coquitlam peoples. And we thank them for this opportunity to live, work, and do this presentation on their land today. And then next we're starting the Costa Rica presentation. So this is what's going to be talked about today. We're going to talk about places to visit in Costa Rica, travel tips and cultural advice, do a little bit of language lesson on Spanish, food and drink, a cooking lesson, conclusion at the end where we can answer some of your questions, and I can explain about some opportunities for you to get involved and study abroad or work abroad in Costa Rica and some funding for that. So next in here, we've got some people in the chat. It looks like everyone is putting in where they're calling in from. Great, lots of people from Surrey and Abbotsford. Please keep the chat going, as love to hear where you're from and what you're studying, what you're doing here. And just doing the introduction. So my name is Sarah Byrne. I grew up on Vancouver Island, and I am a study abroad coordinator here at KPU. Natanya here is on the call. She's been helping with some IT and the video editing and a special takeaway recipe that we have for all of you at the end. And our presenter here is Alexis. So Alexis is from Costa Rica right now in her beautiful tropical background paradise, and she works for Costa Rica Global Learning Programs, which she'll be talking a little bit more about through the presentation. So here, as we go next, I'll leave it to Alexis. I'll mute myself and let her explain about some exciting parts of Costa Rica.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So just to give a little bit more context about myself and my own experience with study abroad. First of all, I'm so glad that all of you are here to learn about study abroad experiences. I feel like I'm a really great example of how transformative study abroad can be, because I actually was a study abroad student myself, and that's how I ended up in Costa Rica. So I was actually born and raised in Augusta, Georgia in the United States. In high school, I did 1 study abroad, and then in college, I did 3. I was a little bit of a study abroad addict. And the last study abroad I did, the next to last, the penultimate one I did was actually in Costa Rica. And I fell in love with the country. At the time that I studied abroad, I was planning on moving abroad post-graduation to go to Europe, but came to Costa Rica and totally changed my perspective and my life and everything. So 2 weeks after I graduated from my master's program, I moved to Costa Rica, and I have been here ever since. So and now I'm working in study abroad, which was not something that I thought I would do. I studied chemistry. I have my master's in teaching. I never thought I would be involved in study abroad, but I realized through different opportunities that it really is my passion. So my advice to anyone considering study abroad, it doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter how you get there, just find a way to go and have these types of academic experiences. I think traveling in general, of course, you should do it, but really study abroad specifically, just being able to interact with the country on an academic level, it's such a powerful way to learn from the country. So I highly, highly encourage any of you, anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be Costa Rica. Obviously, I'm biased towards Costa Rica, but literally anywhere in the world, I would highly recommend. So I've been here for 7 years. Prior to that, I visited quite often as I was preparing to move down here. And I have so many places in Costa Rica that I could recommend to visit. It was really hard for me just to narrow it down to a few, but I was able to do that. So here, in case you don't know, this is Costa Rica. We're actually bordered, we're in Central America. We have a northern border with Nicaragua and a southern border with Panama. We have the Caribbean Sea on one side and the Pacific Ocean on the other side. So we have over 1,200 kilometers of coastline and over 300 beaches to visit. So as you can imagine, it was hard for me to narrow it down, but I did come up with a couple of recommendations. Sarah, can you go forward one? There we go. Okay. So, and I have to admit that some of these areas, they're kind of touristy, but the reason they're touristy is because they're really, really spectacular. These are places that you're going to go and you're going to feel safe. You're going to see a lot of animals. You're going to see a lot of nature, and you're going to have a lot of different activities that you can do and participate in. So it works for anyone. The first one that I would recommend is La Fortuna. And La Fortuna, it's about a 2-hour drive from San Jose Airport. San Jose Airport, or Juan Santa Maria Airport, is our main airport in Costa Rica, but we do have 2 international airports. The other one is in the Guanacaste in the northern part of Costa Rica, and that one is also about 2.5, 3 hours from La Fortuna. So really you can get to Fortuna from either airport quite easily. The most prominent feature of La Fortuna is Arenal volcano, which is this conical volcano that you see in the picture. It's kind of iconic in Costa Rica. If you ever see a brochure about Costa Rica, you're going to see Arenal volcano on it because it's just so impressive. It's so powerful. When you're there, you can see it from no matter where you are, except for when the clouds come over, which unfortunately happens quite often because, of course, with the air that you're getting from the Caribbean Sea and then also the Pacific, like they both kind of come together there. So you end up do end up with quite a number of cloudy days. But every time I've been to La Fortuna, I've been able to see the Arenal volcano. So I definitely recommend to go. When you're there, you have to go to the volcano, of course. You can't hike up to the crater, but you can hike around the base. One of the places that I can recommend for that is the Arenal Observatory Lodge. There's also a park there, a national park that you can visit. So you can go and kind of walk around the base of the volcano. It is an active volcano though, so you don't want to get too close to the crater. Also, this area is full of hot springs, and that's what you can see in the bottom left photo is actually one of the many hot springs locations. And the hot springs in the region all source the hot water from the thermic veins that run through the ground around the volcano. So you're actually getting heated water straight from the volcano. It's full of minerals. There's a lot of reported medicinal properties of going to these hot springs and being able to immerse yourself in the mineral waters and relax. Some of the hot spring lodges even have the mineral mud that they use, and they'll do whole body treatments, or you can just put it on yourself. So there's, I mean, at least 20 different hot spring areas that you can go to. They range in price. They can be as cheap as like $5, $6, all the way up to you can pay like over $100 for a day pass. But really, it's all the same water. It's really more about what other amenities you want, if you want the spa or the bar and all of that. But it's really beautiful. And a lot of hotels offer passes. So if you stay at a hotel, they'll give you a pass to the hot springs. We also have waterfalls. So this is La Fortuna Waterfall, very well known because you have to walk, I think it's like 200 steps, like literal stairs, or I can't remember how many it is, but you have to walk a lot of steps to get there. So that one's maybe not the most accessible waterfall, but there are lots of waterfalls in the area. The zip lining is very popular there. Eating the food is phenomenal. I can't recommend a place because literally everywhere I've eaten in La Fortuna has really amazing food. So you can't go wrong with the food. I can recommend my favorite chocolate tour, which is Olivos chocolate tour. And so they tell you the whole process going from the bean all the way to the bar. You get to see the cacao plant. The cacao plant is then turns into a fruit, and that fruit, the seeds of that are what turn into your chocolate bar. So you can see that whole process, be involved with it, and go with Don Olivio and his family and eat their fruits off their farm and everything. It's a really amazing experience. ATV tours, caves, there's so much in the area to explore. So highly recommend that. And then another place that I really like that probably doesn't get the attention that it needs is Limon. I will say that this is a really popular cruise port, so a lot of cruises land here, but Limon it's really kind of a hidden gem. Limon is amazing for the culture that you can find there. It's far from San Jose, so that's kind of why it stays this hidden gem, except for, again, the cruise ships that come in. It's about a 4 to 5 hour drive from San Jose, and if there's traffic, it can last a little longer. But you can also land in San Jose and then fly to Puerto Viejo. So from there, it's like a 45-minute flight. It's not too bad. The slogan of Limon is that it's the best place because of its people. So that's the main thing that I want to share about Limon is just how welcoming the people are. When you go there, I was actually there a couple of weeks ago, and I just met so many people and went to this lady's house. I didn't even know her, and she invited me in and talked to me, and then was like, "You have to come to this event with me in the theater, and I'm gonna get you a pass." And then took me all around. Like, the people are just so nice, so friendly. This area is also very important because of its history. There's a couple of main historic things. One, this is where Christopher Columbus landed. So there's, of course, a whole history related with that. And of course, the colonization of Costa Rica. Also the history regarding the United Fruit Company and again, kind of the colonization that went on there. And then this is where the Afro-Costa Rican population of Costa Rica pretty much had to stay in this region until the 1940s when they were invited, or they were made Costa Rican citizens. And then they were, of course, allowed to live anywhere in the country. That being said, the country is still considered the center or the heart of the Afro-Costa Rican culture. So the food is different. Their native language is actually English rather than Spanish. So when you go there, you hear a lot more English. You hear a mix of English and Spanish, and then a mix of even English, Spanish, and some African languages. So it's called patois in the area. Anyway, so don't miss when you go there. Definitely, I recommend the walking tour. Down the coast, about an hour from Limon, you can also go to Puerto Viejo. It's a very popular coastal town. Tamara's is the best restaurant. You can go to Catato's chocolate tour. And then Cahuita National Park is a gym. You can see sloths, monkeys, everything there. It's incredible. All right, travel tips and cultural advice. And if anyone has questions about places, please feel free to pop them in the chat. So first of all, traveling to Costa Rica, I have great news. It's a very safe country, often ranked the safest and the most secure in all of Latin America, definitely in Central America. It often is ranked #1 for safety and security. People here are extremely welcoming, very friendly people. Costa Rica are known for their friendly people. Getting around is a little bit tricky. I will admit that the roads are probably not what you'd be used to in Canada, but you can easily rent a car and get around. You just have to be strategic with your driving and go carefully and go slowly. There's also lots of buses. You can take private shuttles if you don't feel comfortable managing the public system, but the public system is great. It's affordable. The only thing is that we have something here called Tico time, which I'll talk about in the next slide. So the buses aren't always on time, and you have to just be a little bit more relaxed when you're traveling here. I definitely recommend try the fresh fruit juice everywhere you go. Every restaurant will have fresh fruit juice with every meal, and always ask them what flavors they have and try a different flavor for every meal. And I bet you won't run out of flavors in your time in Costa Rica. There's so many great, delicious juices to try. Bring a raincoat, no matter what time of the year it is. You just never know. It's better to be safe than sorry. Also, I bring jeans. A lot of people, when they come to Costa Rica, they think, oh, beach clothes, that's all I'm going to wear the whole time. But actually, unless you're on the coast, it's really not common to see people wearing shorts or dresses. So you'll kind of stand out if you are wearing like shorts and a tank top in the city. People tend to wear jeans. It's like a little bit more conservative than places up north. The time zone is similar, so that's nice that you have no jet lag when you come here. Right now, we're 2 hours ahead of you guys, but half the year we're only 1 hour ahead because we don't observe daylight savings time, so our time never changes. We also have the same outlet that you use in Canada, so that's nice. You don't need a converter, you don't need an adapter. You just come on down here, no jet lag, plug your stuff in, you're ready to go. And I would recommend, though, don't bring Canadian dollars. People don't really use those at all here. So, but you can bring US dollars, and then you can either convert them to the local currency when you're here, or everyone will accept US dollars. And so really you can just kind of manage it that way the whole time. And that juice right there, that's passion fruit juice, maracuja. All right, some cultural things. I only put 2 things here, but it kind of sums up Costa Rica, I think. First of all, the unofficial slogan of Costa Rica is Pura Vida. And Pura Vida literally translates to pure life, but here it means so much more than that. It's the way of life here. Everything and everyone is just Pura Vida. So that can mean relaxed, happy, easygoing, going with the flow. We have a joke here that you can have a whole conversation with a Costa Rican just by saying Pura Vida, because they also use it here. It's also used here to say hello, goodbye, thank you, how are you? I'm doing great. You know, chill out. So you can just go up to someone, Pura Vida, and they Pura Vida, and you just go back and forth, and then a whole conversation has been had just using 2 words. And we say this a joke, but it's actually quite literal. Like when you're here, it's so funny. Students are always saying like, I thought you were joking about the Pura Vida, but that's all I've heard the whole trip. And I'm like, yeah, you pretty much just need to know those 2 words. Tico time is something that if you're not from Costa Rica and you're used to like a very strict time, you may not feel so Pura Vida when you realize about Tico time. So Tico time is just, it's things here go at a different pace. Everything's a little bit slower. It's okay to be late to things. It's okay to move times. If there's a party at 6, everyone shows up at 8:30, you know, those kinds of things, that's Tico time. And so with the buses and when you're traveling, you have to kind of be aware that not everything follows a strict schedule like what you might be used to in Canada. That being said, when you're here, you know Tico time is a thing, you're very Pura Vida about it, and you have a great time. Yeah. Okay, someone's saying in the chat, and I do want to address that. Actually, I might have it in the language lesson. Let's see if it's here about the diminutives. All right, so let's do a little bit of language.
Also,
okay.
Alexis, you can play on me like the repeat after guinea pig, and all those that are muted, you can repeat with me too, or we can repeat with Alexis for this language lesson. I don't know if anyone in the chat knows Spanish already.
It looks like Daria does, maybe. Okay, several. Nicole, Sarah. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, hopefully I teach you some new words that you guys aren't familiar with.
I just do it by association. I don't really speak much Spanish.
Okay.
I can speak my way through it though, definitely. So I'm excited.
Perfect. All right. I think I just pulled up some words that are very specific to Costa Rica, or words that are used quite often, like Pura Vida. You know, Pura Vida, it's not a word that's only from Costa Rica, but the way it's used here is different than how you would use it anywhere else in the world. Okay. Perfect. I did put Tico and Tika here, and I can explain exactly what Daria was talking about in the chat. So Costa Ricans call themselves, and pretty much everyone in Latin America calls Costa Ricans Ticos, which are the male Costa Ricans, or Ticas, which are female Costa Ricans. And the reason for that is because of the way that Costa Ricans use their diminutive. So a diminutive would be, for example, if I see a horse, and I want to say like, oh, it's a very cute horse, I can say, oh, what a cute horsey, right? So when we add in English, like an IE to the end, we say, oh, what a cute horsey. You know, you're thinking, oh, it's a little teeny horsey, like it's so cute. That's in a diminutive, adding that IE on the end. In Spanish, the way that we add diminutives is normally in other countries is just adding an ita or ito. So for example, if you have a little kid, you can call him chiquito or chiquita. But in Costa Rica, they add an extra tico. So it's kind of funny. So instead of saying chiquita or chiquito, they will say chiquitito or chiquitica or chiquitico. Oh, there's a lot of sounds in there. For someone like me who learned Spanish in Costa Rica, I didn't realize it wasn't like that until other people who weren't from Costa Rica heard me speak Spanish, and they were like, where did you learn your Spanish? Why are you putting so many extra letters in there? And I'm like, Costa Rican. They're like, get it now. Tikotika, yeah. So it's funny here that when they, first of all, they use diminutive all the time. It's used on everything. Like, do you want huevitos or hueviticos? Like little eggs, you know, but they're not little, they're normal size. So Sarah, do you want to try out your tico and tika?
I encourage everyone for this to practice while you're muted. So I'll go Tico and Tika. Yeah.
Very good. And then Sarah
it.
put one in the chat. Poquitico. Poquitico. It's like a little bit. So the actual word is poco, which means a little. So some in other Spanish speaking countries, if they want to say like a little, but kind of a little smaller, they'll say poquito. Poquito. But Costa Ricans, we add an extra syllable. So it's poquitico.
Poquitico. Poquitico.
Poquitico. Yep. So that's where that name comes from, ticos and ticas. And here in Costa Rica, everyone will say, oh, yo soy tico. And that was actually the song that we started out this presentation with, was soy tico. I'm Costa Rican. I will say it's much easier to say tico or tica than to say Costa Rican in Spanish. That's costarricense. It's a very long word. Daria, do you want to try it out?
Actually, I had a very interesting discussion about that with my husband. He's from Panama. So anyway, so I actually wanted to ask you about Tikotika. He did mention something to me about the fact that certain individuals, not sure what generation, it's a generational thing or not, but folks might take offense to being called Tikotika. I don't know how, whether that's true or not, because I mean, obviously you live there, you know.
Yeah.
But he just spoke to me that you need to know your audience when you're calling somebody that. So tell me more about that if you can.
From what I know, I've never heard anyone get offended. And actually, like, people here wear shirts and hats. I mean, if you go to a store, if you go to Walmart, 50% of the store shirts and hats say Tico, or I'm Tico, or soy Tico, or I'm más Tico que gallo pinto, or like, it's funny. Everyone, like, here, they love it. People say, no, I'm soy Tico, like Tico en mi corazón, or soy Tica en mi corazón. Here it's like very proud. People are very proud to be called Tico or Tica. I will say one of the words that's used here a lot, and maybe your husband's like thinking more of this. Here they call foreigners, people from the United States specifically, or from Canada, they call us gringos. And I do know that gringo for some people can be offensive. And here in Costa Rica, they mean it affectionately. Like when someone says, oh, usted es gringa, like they don't mean it in a, like, oh, you're an American, like they don't mean it in an offensive way. Whereas apparently in other Spanish speaking countries, gringo or gringa can be offensive. So I'm wondering if that might not be it.
Well,
or
I will definitely go and tell him.
Ask him, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Ask him about that for sure.
I'm curious to have a discussion tonight. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, another word that's very much used here all the time, and that you'll also hear, and this is primarily between guys, but I will say a lot of women use it too. I use it a lot, is the word my. My most closely translates to dude, like dude this, dude that. So it's kind of like a way that you can call like another guy, or again, you can call a girl that as well. It just really means like that person, right? So you can be, or you can also use it like between friends. But it's funny here because when you hear two men talking to each other, specifically men, they will say my 5 times in every sentence. It'll be like, my, viernes que my, this and that, my. And I'm like, all I can hear is my. And that's another thing that students, when they visit, when they hear men talking, they're like, I didn't hear anything but my, like there was no other word. And I'm like, yes, there wasn't. Like, you understand what they were talking about through their gestures, because really all they said was do. So you can use my, that's another thing, it's friendly. You can use it with everyone. You probably wouldn't use it with older people because it could be seen as a little disrespectful, but depending on the context, if you have like a good relationship with someone, you can call them my, and it's just a nice way to, say like, hey man, hey my, or hey girl, hey my. So yeah, that's used a lot. Soda is very important if you're coming to Costa Rica. Soda is not like pop soda, like soft drink. Soda in Costa Rica refers to restaurants, specifically like the small, homemade style food restaurants. And so, if you come here and you see areas and they are marked soda, you might think, oh, I don't want a soda pop. I'm like, fine, I'll just pass. No, stop there. They're going to have good homemade food. It's going to be very cheap and you're going to get to meet really nice people. So soda is very important to know that word. Pulperia as well. Pulperia is what the word that we use for like a small store. Like a little convenience store, but they're kind of really interesting because it's not, when I say convenience store, you probably think of something and it's not what you're thinking about. So convenience store here at Pulperia, it can literally be an extra bedroom in someone's house and they've carved out a window and they open a little window and there's a sign that says Pulperia and you go and you stick your head in their house and you're like, yeah, let me get some toilet paper and a thing of bleach and do you have some eggs and can I get some of those cookies as well? So they have everything, but they're literally hidden in the most random spots and you just see a sign that's Pulperia, you can find anything in a Pulperia. So you can go there to add more minutes to your phone, like they're the place to stop. So a lot of times when you're in small towns outside of San Jose, which is our capital, you're not going to find big stores, but you can stop in a pulperia and you can find anything there. And the people are nice too. And then the last word, another thing that you will unfortunately encounter in Costa Rica is la presa. Presa is the word that's used here for traffic. So if there's a traffic jam or there's a lot of cars, you'd say, hay mucha presa. There's a lot of traffic. And I'd point that one out because that one's another one that gets said a lot and usually it's heard by tourists and they think it means something else or they're not sure what it means. So when you come here, if you want to sound local and you're sitting in the traffic coming from the airport, you can be like, ay, que montón de presa. There's so much traffic. Unfortunately, we do have a traffic problem in San Jose specifically. But once you get out of the city, which is where I encourage everyone to spend as much time out of the city as possible in the nature, there's not much presa out there.
Alexis, what is the more common mode of transportation in many of the places?
Car. Pretty much everyone gets in car, or gets around in car. So we have cars are primary, buses, public buses. A lot of people still rely heavily on public buses and the public buses are good and they're very cheap. I did the public bus until this year. This year was the first year I broke down and bought a car. But just really more because of the pandemic, I moved out of the city and the buses are a little harder to come by outside of the city. And then motorcycles, really not many. I mean, I would say more than what you're used to in Canada, but nothing compared to what you'll see in Asia. I would say on the roads, maybe 10% of the moving vehicles are motorcycles, and maybe even less than that. And they're not recommended for tourists at all. Actually, I think 50% of the motor accidents that happen in Costa Rica are with motorcycles. So it's really dangerous. The roads just aren't set up for it. A lot of people bike here, but for hobby, not for getting around, because again, kind of dangerous. So it's not so much used in the city, more if you're outside of the city. And then in certain towns, like for example, in Puerto Viejo that I mentioned in Limon, people ride bikes there all the time to get around. So it kind of depends from city to city. We don't have taxi motorcyclists. We do have the little tuk-tuks, like tuk-tuks, the little, like kind of like taxi motorcycle. It's got like a little carrito on the back, like a little thing for 2 people or 3 people to sit in, but only on some of the coasts you can find those, like in Puerto Viejo specifically, I think is really the only place I've seen those. Oh, we have some more language. Okay. These are some expressions that also come from Costa Rica, that kind of like idiomatic expressions that I hear a lot. So for example, if you are saying things that are not true, or you're exaggerating, or you're, mostly if you're saying something that people don't believe, like it's unbelievable, they will say that you're talking straw. So they'll say you're hablando paja. Or they'll might say papaya, hablando papaya. Like you're making things up. That's not true. So that's one you hear a lot, and people are always like, what? Hablando papaya, hablando paja? What does that mean? It means that you're making things up. Another one you hear a lot, suave un toque, especially when you're in a car with someone and they're driving. Suave un toque means like hold on a second, or wait a second, or pause. Like if you're in a car, like suave un toque. Okay, we're gonna like slow down a little bit. It means literally, like if you translate it literally, it means soft a touch, or like slow down a touch. I don't know, but it sounds kind of weird if you don't understand the expression. And another one that we say here a lot is que torta. So like, what a mess. So for example, if your dog goes, you give him a bath and he runs out and gets in a puddle, you say, ay, que torta, like what a mess you just made. Or like, my friend hit a car the other day when I was with her, and she gets out of the car and she's like, ay, que torta, que torta. Torta literally means cake in most Spanish speaking countries. But here, when they say que torta, they mean what a mess. And they don't use torta for cake here. They use queque. So, the same in El Salvador with paja. All right, perfect. That's what Sarah said. Okay, food and drink. Another hard one to narrow down.
Alexis,
right.
Can you name some of these to the people of what we're seeing here?
Yeah, on the pictures. Okay, in the top left corner, of course, we have papaya, watermelon, or in Spanish, sandia. Below the watermelon, we have, this is the typical breakfast of Costa Rica. This is called, it's called el desayuno típico, typical breakfast, but it has gallo pinto, eggs, tortillas, fried plantain, natilla, which is sour cream, but Costa Rican sour cream, and then cheese. Underneath that, the like round things, here in Costa Rica, we call those patacones, or in other Spanish-speaking countries, they'll usually call them tostones. So patacones or tostones are fried green tomatoes that are smashed and then served with different delicious things. In the middle, the shots, that's chili guardo. That's a Costa Rican thing. It's made with cacique, which is kind of the local vodka. And then with tomato juice, lemon juice, salt, And then over beside that, in the far right, we have a very beautiful casado. So casado is the typical meal, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. So this is making me hungry. I just ate lunch, but I'm hungry. Oh, I didn't put more information about those. No, we can go back and I can, sorry, I thought I had a slide, but I can talk a little bit more about them.
Okay.
Because I do want to explain something that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the breakfast, you can see it's rice and beans with eggs. And if you look at the lunch, you can see there's rice and beans and eggs, right? So we love our rice and beans and eggs here in Costa Rica. We have different names for the rice and beans dish, though, as in other Spanish-speaking countries. So in Costa Rica, the breakfast version of the rice and beans, which are mixed together, that's called gallo pinto, which is literally translates to painted rooster. Don't know where the name comes from, gallo pinto. But everyone here, you ask for pinto con huevo, so pinto with eggs, or you can say pinto with natilla, which is with sour cream. Any restaurant that you go to for breakfast, they'll have pinto con, and then they'll just have a list of things. So you can just say, oh, yo quiero pinto con huevo, natilla, queso. So I want pinto with eggs, cheese, sour cream, and you just list all the things you want. For the lunch version, which is casado. So the typical lunch, the one on the right side, that's casado, and that's rice and beans, but separate. They're not mixed together. So this is quite different than pinto, right? Rice and beans separated from each other, but then you'll usually have some sort of meat. We eat a lot of chicken here and fish, but also beef and pork as well. Then you usually have picadillo, which is like the chopped vegetables that you can see in the top left part of that picture, and then also down to the bottom left of the picture. Yeah, right there, Sarah, and then right under that. So that's kind of two versions of picadillo, which is just chopped and cooked vegetables. And then it's often served with egg, or often served with fried plantain as well. So yeah, the fruit juices, as I mentioned, you can get fresh fruit with any meal. I definitely recommend try all of the fruit juices. And then chili guardo is very typical here. If you go out to any kind of bar or club, they're going to be like 2 shots for 1,000 colones, which is like 2 shots for $2. Like they're the cheapest. They'll usually just give them out to people at some point in the night when everyone's been there for a while. But that's a very, very typical drink here, chili guardo. It tastes pretty good too. It just tastes like tomato juice. It's not a strong drink.
So next, we have a privilege that everyone here is going to go away with a PDF recipe as well as a video tutorial that Alexis has put together of how to cook some Costa Rican food. So Natanya will share the recipe soon in the chat. And Alexis, maybe you can speak a little bit about these foods that we have here.
Yes, so the recipe and the video, they're actually cooking classes that we did on our Instagram Live a few months ago. We do different events on our Instagram, so you guys can definitely follow along if you want to catch up with that. Someone asked if I like to, or if we like to cook, and I'll say that on my end, I definitely like to. I don't know about y'all, but any of you who like to cook, check out our Instagram, because in our IGTV, you'll actually see a few of these videos that we've saved, including this one, which we're going to send to you in YouTube format. But definitely go to our Instagram and check it out. So empanadas fritas, of course, every Spanish-speaking country, they all have their empanadas, and everyone does it a different way. So Costa Rican empanadas taste a million times different than like a Colombian empanada or one from Cuba or one from Argentina, especially. Here, they're fried, usually filled with cheese or with beans. Occasionally, you'll find them with meat or other ingredients. I think the ones that we did for this recipe were with cheese and beans. These are the ingredients. I have one recommendation. You're gonna have the video and you'll get to follow along with me making it. My recommendation is add more water than you think, because the first time I did it, I didn't quite get it like sticky enough, and they ended up falling apart in the oil. You don't see that in the video. I did a very good job of hiding the fact that I totally messed it up. Like it was, you know, I was like, ay, que torta, right? It was terrible. But the second time that I made them, I had to go back and redo it. I added more water than I thought that I needed the first time, and they came out really good. So I would definitely recommend make it when you think you have it to the consistency of Play-Doh, which is what the chef tells me to do. You just need to add a little bit more water so it's a little bit stickier. Mine was still dry, like it broke, and then it just dissolved in the fryer.
So we have the ingredients here for the empanadas, and Natanya's also put in the link for the video. And the next, we also have a bonus, also another recipe of these coconut balls, and here are the ingredients as well. Anything you want to add for these ones?
No, these come out perfect. You can't mess up leche condensada, like sweetened condensed milk. There's nothing, no way you can mess it up. Like in this one, it's a really easy, this is a really fast recipe. Like if you want to impress people and make them think you're a chef, like the worst case scenario, if you have not enough of one ingredient or you have too much of another ingredient, you can just quickly adjust on the fly. You'll know when you have the right consistency with these. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I would say don't skimp, don't go for the non-fat condensed milk, don't go for the non-fat butter, right? Like this is a very sweet dessert. Don't try to make it a diet dessert. Instead, you just make the balls smaller, right? So then you feel like you're saving some calories there.
Right. So we have the video here, but we're not going to play it because we're short on time. But Natanya's put in the chat the link to the YouTube so you can watch it and try it out in your free time. So we're just going to conclude with talking about a little bit about opportunities for everyone here to go to Costa Rica, because I'm sure after this presentation, you all are looking forward to going there, as I am as well. And Alexis has been working well with us in study abroad, and Nathaniel put in the link to the chat to our spring 2022 opportunities. So for Costa Rica Global Learning Programs, maybe I'll just let you Alexis, maybe speak to yourself. This is our details here for this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been doing virtual internship opportunities since September of last year, and we've been working together with KPU for several semesters now, hosting different virtual interns, including one who we actually have in the room. Manpreet has just finished her internship with us. So the internship placements that we have a lot of different areas. Specifically with KPU students, we've had students from healthcare, from business. Did we have a graphic design student, or was that just very talented students? Really, they've done a variety of things, but through the internship experience, which again right now is virtual and will hopefully be going back to in-person soon, you get the work experience. We do like a kind of a matchmaking process, and Sarah helps out a lot with that, helping students to find like a really good option for them. So you have your work experience, which is anywhere from 8 to 15 hours per week. Costa Rican cultural activities every week, so like the cooking class. Today, for example, we'll actually be having someone from La Fortuna talking about La Fortuna and talking about her business there and promoting women entrepreneurship, which Women Entrepreneur Day is November 19th, mark the calendar. And then we also have Spanish language lessons. So we have live Spanish lessons, the culture class, and the work experience. It is a non-paid experience. And we've been doing this for several semesters now. It's an 8-week experience, and you can get in touch with Sarah to learn more about the opportunities.
Yeah, thank you, Alexis. There is lots of funding available so that 100% of the program fees can be covered. Just need to contact me if you're interested, and we can work on filling out an application and getting ready. Deadline there is November 24th for spring opportunities, and Alexis is super helpful once coordinating everything with the mentors and everything when you're into the program there. And Manpreet, we've got lots of other students who have given some experience and testimonials for that too. Other than Costa Rica for internships, I just want to let everyone know that we have also other opportunities for academic semester that you can check out on the website. I think Natania's put our website in the chat, as well as noting that in-person study abroad, we're aiming to open for fall 2022, supporting people to go abroad. So that's our goal. Keep in touch with us. Daria's here as well. She's my coworker who's going to be supporting more of the outbound activities. You can talk to her. So we have the field schools, summer schools, exchange for virtual at the moment too is an extra that you can do if maybe you can't go in person for various reasons. And as Alexis was sharing her personal experience, which thank you so much, Alexis, for sharing at the start of this, it can have life impact in participating in a program while you're a student at university as well, for the connections and the experience that you have that you may not get once you finish the programs that you've studied. So that concludes here for the presentation. And I just want to do another explanation of tomorrow we have from 12 to 1 Vietnam's presentation with people speaking about Vietnam, similar format, and then Germany on Friday, airport lounge, Thursday layover interactive activity to go online to register for all of that. So yeah, Natania's put the details in the chat here, and everyone should also have the link to the videos so you can make the food yourselves. And I'm going to also right now stop I'm going to stop this recording and then allow people to turn on their cameras and talk to Alexis